Hi, I'm Megan Wagner, and I'm the Director of Spiritual Psychology at the Chaplaincy Institute Interfaith Seminary. I'm excited to share with you an introduction to my spiritual psychology course. This intensive spiritual psychology course provides students with a holistic model of psycho-spiritual development that can be used for personal growth and for work with individuals, couples, families, and organizations. The course is designed as a standalone two-module program for practitioners and students wanting to supplement their training as healthcare professionals. For students in the Interfaith Studies program, the two modules are taken as part of their graduation requirement. And if you're not part of the chaplaincy program, you're very welcome to take this course. The course is designed for spiritual directors, chaplains, therapists and counselors, healthcare professionals, life coaches, religious professionals, and interested students that are seeking personal and spiritual growth. As a student, you will learn assessment tools, innovative exercises, and creative interventions to produce positive, lasting change for yourself and your clients. The spiritual psychology course integrates wisdom from various spiritual traditions, Kabbalah, Jungian psychology and developmental psychology, family systems, archetypes, mythology, astrology, and alchemy. In the spiritual psychology course, we tackle the big questions of life, like who am I? What is my purpose? What is my soul? What is my spirit? What's blocking me from moving forward? And we also take a deep dive into exploring trauma, addictions, and personal wounds from an emotional as well as a spiritual perspective. And together we consider our complex human design as physical, emotional, spiritual, and divine beings. We explore the human psyche from this holistic, multi-dimensional perspective and discover many possible avenues of healing the human body, heart, mind, and spirit. Some of the topics that we cover include emotional development from 0 to 27 years, attachment theory and the importance of the mother-infant bond, healthy ego development, and internalizing the good mother, defenses of the personality, wounds to the inner child, healthy boundaries, healthy intimacy, astrology and personal integration, breaking addictions, the effects of emotional trauma on the body, the psyche, and the spirit, the power of will and personal responsibility, projection, transference, shadow work, healing the heart, spiritual awakening, releasing negative belief systems, and spiritual bypass, and so much more. The spiritual psychology curriculum follows the Tree of Life model, which is a model from Kabbalah that I have supplemented with my knowledge of psychology and mythology, various spiritual traditions, and stages of psycho-spiritual development. The Tree of Life is a universal symbol that everyone can relate to, so it's a very useful model to explain our developmental process. The Tree of Life is said to live within each person, with its roots, trunk, and branches corresponding to our body, our soul, and our spirit. So as we develop our inner tree, we need to set down healthy roots, which means building a healthy ego, connecting in healthy relationships, and coming to terms with our family of origin issues. And then we need to establish a strong trunk, which means developing a separate sense of identity, withstanding conflict, and expressing our truth and unique soul. And then we grow our branches to our tree, which means branching out to a wider spiritual view of life and connecting with our spiritual self or our higher self or God, goddess, divine being, however one defines this experience. And in addition to the roots, trunk, and branches, the Tree of Life is also a roadmap of 7 stages of human development that correspond to the 7 centers of consciousness, or the 7 chakras, through which we run various currents of physical, emotional, and spiritual energy. When these energies are balanced and flowing, our tree of life is healthy and we feel physically vital, emotionally stable, and spiritually open. Our roots are grounded, our trunk is strong, and our branches bring forth abundant fruit. Now, for most of us, these 7 centers are not in perfect harmony. Our energy centers become blocked and our tree of life gets out of alignment. Through the spiritual psychology course, we learn how to clear and clean and rebalance the 7 energy centers so we can thrive with optimal health. We also learn to develop our tree of life to its full potential and live with physical, emotional, and spiritual vitality, healing our roots, strengthening our trunk, and opening our branches to a spiritual perspective of life. The most vital assessment tool we learn in spiritual psychology is the 7-stage developmental journey. When you know the 7 stages intimately, you will know where a person is on the developmental journey, and you'll be able to make appropriate interventions. On the 7-stage journey, stages 1, 2, and 3 build the roots of the tree of life. Stages 4 and 5 build the trunk of the tree. And stages 6 and 7 build the branches of the tree. So in stage 1 is all about birth and infancy, and it's about feeling contained, feeling grounded, feeling connected to the earth and to one's body as sacred. Stage 2 is about early childhood. And so we look at one's ego strength. We look at whether we've internalized the good mother. Stage 3 is about our family system, our family of origin. And we look at how is our support system. Stage 4 is about adolescence. And during adolescence, we're developing a self-identity away from the family and tribe. So that's stage 4. Stage 5 is about adulthood, taking ownership and self-responsibility of one's life. And we look at how we take authorship of our life. And it's also about soul development in stage 5. Stage 6 is about spiritual awakening, maturity, spiritual maturity, and spiritual openness and creativity. Stage 7 is about connecting to our divine self, experiencing the interconnectedness of all life. Some call this unity consciousness. And it's about growing the fruit on our tree and sharing our gifts with the world. So when I'm with a client, I'm listening carefully to a person's story. I'm listening for where they are on this 7-stage developmental journey. When I can identify where they are on the journey, I can make appropriate interventions. For example, if a person had trauma in their early childhood and doesn't feel safe in the world, I know that we can look at the first 3 stages and rebuild some of the root system to their tree. In stage 1, we can look at helping that person feel more grounded, more safe, and more contained. In stage 2, I would be helping them to internalize a good mother for the wounded inner child. And from stage 3, we could together look at their family of origin issues. When we help people with the roots of the tree, which is where most of the inner work occurs, it profoundly stabilizes their inner tree. And once the roots of the tree are stabilized, then they can build a strong trunk and strong branches. In the spiritual psychology course, we learn how to listen deeply to where a person is on their developmental journey. For example, we listen for a person's development at stage 1. How contained is this person? Is he grounded and in his body? Does he feel safe in the world? Is he physically stressed? How can I, as a counselor, chaplain, or spiritual director, provide healthy containment, and healthy boundaries and consistency. The first stage is all about feeling safe in the world and feeling safe in the body. And then in stage 2, we listen for a person's ego development, assessing that person's ego strength. Also, what kind of bonding and emotional attachment skills does she have? Has she internalized a good mother? Can she take in the good food that I'm offering to her? These are all the markers for how strong her ego is at stage 2. And then the third stage has to do with a person's support system. Does he have a family, friends, and community support? If this person is completely isolated, then you're dealing with a totally different situation than if somebody has friends, family, and a community. With a support system, a person is held in a container that's much stronger than if a person is really isolated. The third stage has to do with coming to terms with one's own family of origin issues, the different kinds of blessings, or even the family curses that come down the lineage. The fourth stage is all about self-identity. So I listen for whether a person has a separate sense of self. You can tell fairly quickly if a person has a strong individual identity or if he is enmeshed with others. Does he have his own voice, his own opinions, or is he under the will of his family or his partner or his community? These are the questions I ask at the fourth stage. At the fifth stage, I listen for the person's ability to take self-responsibility. Do they take full ownership for their life and actions, or are they still a victim? You can hear this in the way people talk about their life, if they feel they are the author of their life. And also in stage 5, I listen for whether a person has access to their will. Can she speak her truth and live her truth? The fifth stage also has to do with soul development. Does this person have access to their soul's mission and their soul's purpose? With the sixth stage, I listen for the person's relationship with spirit. Does he have a spiritual tradition to draw upon? What's his connection to spirit, to something bigger than himself? Does he have a nourishing spiritual practice? Does he have access to his creativity? I also listen carefully to whether he is engaged in spiritual bypass. And by this I mean, is he using spiritual teachings as a defense against feeling real pain or suffering? The seventh stage reflects a person's access to the divine. And at this level, I look to see if that person's tree of life is bearing fruit and if he or she is sharing these gifts with others. Does she feel empowered to serve others and to live her life's purpose? Has she experienced what some call mystical union or unitive consciousness, which is an experience of being connected to all of life? Does she have access to deep compassion for all people and all life? So this is my 7-stage checklist, the 7 stages of skills I use to assess where people are on the psycho-spiritual journey. Now, I've been developing these skills for over 30 years as a therapist, so I don't expect students to have all of this down right away. But by the end of the course, I hope to impart some of these skills so that everyone feels confident when they are with others, deeply listening with their body, with their heart, with their mind, and with their spirit. Some students ask me whether we can, in our ordinary day-to-day life, gather this information from conversations with people rather than asking them directly for this information. Yes, in day-to-day life, you can absolutely find out much of this information just by having conversations with people. Your assessment and diagnostic skills can be much more focused, however, if you have set aside sacred time to listen to someone, like when you're in a therapy session or a spiritual direction session. Also, when you know what to listen for, when you know the dynamics of the tree of life, and the knowledge of the 7 stages, then the red flags will go up when you notice something. Like I might notice that the other person is not taking in the good food that is being offered to them. My red flag points me to stage 2 on the 7-stage developmental scale. So I know to listen for whether they have internalized the good mother. If they can't take in the good food being offered, I know that they have not yet internalized a good mother inside. I know immediately we can do a piece of work around the good mother, internalizing the good mother and her qualities, and learning to take in the good food. And this helps to heal the wounding at the 2nd stage of development. Of course, it's also really important that students themselves are working on their own completion of this 7-stage journey. If you know where you have been wounded at any stage, you can track your own developmental progress. You need to know where your own strengths and weaknesses lie at each stage of development. As healers, we're always working on healing our own body, soul, and spirit. We are, of course, the wounded healers, to use a phrase. And what makes us effective and empathic healers is that we understand our own woundedness, and we're constantly working on ourselves to strengthen our psyches and spirits so that we can take on this bigger work with others. So as you go through this course, you will notice where you are strong in your tree of life and where you feel you need to work to strengthen your inner tree. The other skill I want you to have by the end of the spiritual psychology course is the skill to make appropriate interventions in any situation. You have many choices when you are with others, and sometimes silence and not doing anything is the most important intervention, and we will learn how to do this. Another effective intervention is reflection, such as, "What I hear you saying is." Sometimes active guidance is really helpful too. It can be appropriate to give a simple 3-step solution for someone to try. And sometimes it's important just to step in and say, "Here's what I think might be helpful." And other times it's helpful just to sit there and to hold sacred space and just wait until some creative solution comes to you. For those of you who want to work directly with hands-on healing, sometimes that's an appropriate response as well. Other times, designing a personal ritual is important. So, to sum it up, you will learn some amazing tools in the spiritual psychology course. You will learn the dynamics of the tree of life. You will learn the difference between levels of awareness, the difference between ego, soul, and spiritual consciousness. And you will learn the 7-stage developmental process so that you can quickly assess where someone is on this developmental journey. You will be amazed at how skillful you become by the end of this course. I hope you can join us on this powerful psycho-spiritual journey, and I'm really glad that you'll be joining us on the spiritual psychology course.